also, please be mindful of...
Some fallout on the ongoing case of Lieutenant Richard Pedrini. Some Arlington residents are none too pleased with how town leaders address the matter. We'll have their reaction, as well as reaction from town leaders. And where does this story go from here? School is back in session less than 3 months after Arlington favors a new high school building. What can we expect for this school year and beyond? Brenda Mahoney gets the answers from school leaders tonight. A Stanley Cup champion who's been to hell and back tells his story in a film that debuts in Arlington. A future hockey great whose life was shattered by horrific injury, losing nearly everything, including his life. This film is about salvation. Town Day was another success with good food, good music, good company. We'll have some of the highlights from Arlington's Town Day 2019. Rain? What rain?
From McLennan Park to Spy Pond, from Poets Corner to the Mystic River, we have Arlington covered. We're your neighbors, a friend you can turn to. This is ACMi News.
Lively feedback in a lengthy and at times contentious select board meeting this month. This in wake of that public letter released last month by town manager Adam Chapter as to why he chose the restorative justice process for Arlington Police Lieutenant Richard Pedrini. Hi, I'm Tyler Valancourt.
And I'm Eleni Kaminas. You'll recall Pedrini published some unsettling comments in a police magazine last fall, was temporarily suspended as a result, underwent the town's restorative justice program, and was reinstated to the force in the spring. Last week, the Select Board was not unanimous in its endorsement of Mr. Chapdelain's letter. ACMi News Director Jeff Barnes has an update on this story from Town Hall and gets reaction from town leaders and those who are not satisfied with how the town has handled this matter.
Some Arlington residents are very upset with the way the town meted out justice for Lieutenant Richard Pedrini of the Arlington Police Force. Now, Select Board members generally supported Adam Chapdelain's handling of this highly sensitive issue, but they were not unanimous in their endorsement for Chapdelain's letter, which was released earlier this summer, which pretty much spells out why the town manager chose the restorative justice process. We'll be hearing from the town manager in just a moment, but first, some highly charged emotions from that Select Board meeting of September the 9th, right here at Town Hall.
Further, I'd like to see the town do 5 things. Provide transparency on the already used restorative justice process with involving a third-party legal counsel who can articulate what the town's options were at the time and are currently, and to conclusively advise the community of Arlington whether or not termination is or was an option for Lieutenant Pedrini, because we feel that there is some question about the logic and the rationale.
We can't discuss termination. You're really going far afield. And just please be respectful of the process.
Second, to provide clarification on why the Select Board originally chose not to get involved in this personnel issue, but is now voting on endorsing a town manager letter without further engagement with the public stakeholders.
And also, please be mindful of... It's okay?
I was going to ask a question.
No, it's not a back and forth. You get to make 3 minutes, and that's it. Please be mindful of, we went through this about 15 years ago, where citizens, what I think you're attempting to do, and it harmed this town and divided it. It took us like 10 years to get back, and nobody won. Oh, please sit down. Please sit down.
What has more damage to our reputation?
I'm sorry, that's not how this meeting is run. You're not being very respectful. I'm trying to be very respectful to you, but you at least need to respect the process and not yell out questions.
Right now, we're, the situation we're in, we see a lot of hatred, hate incidents and things like that coming up. That's one of the reasons I ran for town meeting member. And so this touches me in a different way than each one of you, okay? So I want, you say words matter. You're right, words matter. And so this is not what I thought I was gonna say. So I would really like you to think about the chilling message that you're giving by endorsing this letter. I would really ask you to consider and take into account some of the concerns that so many people have towards this issue.
What about the people? Where is the conversation here about the harmed and vulnerable people? Silence. You have been silent. Nothing. Okay? All I hear about is the Arlington Police Department, and let's not make Lieutenant Pedrini too pissed off so that when he comes back, he doesn't poison the rest of the department. What I am not hearing is any outreach to the community that's actually been harmed. No outreach to the immigrant population that we have here, no outreach to the LGBTQI+ population, to those suffering mental health issues, addiction, brown and black members of our community, nothing. You have been silent. You have been publicly silent, and that's inexcusable. You are our leaders.
And we truly need to find a path to healing in the community. And I think for reasons I'm going to discuss later, I personally cannot vote to endorse the letter this evening because, and I'm not doing it because I feel like we're at a stage where things are incomplete. It's not that I think the manager was well within his rights to put it out there, and I think at that time he did it. It was appropriate for him to lay out what his thinking was. However, for me personally, to vote to endorse the letter where we're not there yet, I think we'd be getting ahead of the process. And a couple of quotes from the letter. The major thing that still needs to be done by both the town and Lieutenant Pedrini is further engagement with the community in order to both continue to repair the harm and rebuild trust in the Arlington Police Department.
Now, as we said, ACMi News reported that Adam Chaplain did indeed, earlier this summer, release a letter to the public explaining why he chose the restorative justice process for Lieutenant Richard Pedrini. Now, restorative justice includes, among a lot of other things, victims getting to meet with the offender to seek some sort of reconciliation. Chaplain's letter this summer comes after many residents were highly critical over the restorative justice process instead of just firing Lieutenant Pedrini outright from the force. The town manager's open letter, released to the public in early August, addressed the efforts to restore trust in the Arlington Police Department in wake of Lieutenant Richard Pedrini's writings in a police periodical in 2018. It began last October in the Massachusetts Police Association's magazine, The Sentinel. Pedrini wrote, among other things, "Let's stop lip-syncing, please. Let's beat violence with violence and get the job done." Adam Chaplain says even though the lieutenant has been back on the force since April the 14th after successfully completing the restorative justice process, the town manager felt compelled to give the public an update.
I had people coming to me really expressing a desire for there to be more information in the community. There's a petition going around town expressing concern about the matter and Lieutenant Pedrini. So the combination of those things pushed me towards feeling like I needed to share more with the community about the process than what we had shared back in March and April. And that's ultimately the impetus for putting the letter together.
In the letter, Chaplain relayed his concerns about the legal process in such cases like an outright firing, mainly the right of public sector employees to take disputes about discipline to a third-party arbitrator, and that Chaplain explains, "I came to the conclusion that there was a significant risk that a termination would not be upheld by a third-party arbitrator. This risk, in my opinion, created a path to what I believe would have been the worst-case scenario for the town, a terminated police lieutenant being returned to work by an arbitrator's decision, both vindicated and non-repentant, and a community left without an opportunity to heal." Instead, in this letter, Adam Chaplain outlines how town leaders carefully chose to employ the restorative justice process with Lieutenant Pedrini. Chaplain says it was a chance for him to tackle this very sensitive issue head on, requiring Lieutenant Pedrini to face those representatives of those communities who he harmed with his words. It would also open up a broader dialogue about race and policing as a whole. It would certainly be a novel use of the restorative justice process. Clearly, in this case, Arlington would be breaking new ground.
Right from the start, this has been a very challenging issue. From the day that his writings became public and I learned about them, I knew that there was really going to be no good way out of this, or no way where everybody would be happy, which is the reality of the world sometimes, especially in complicated matters of employment and law. So, yeah, I suppose I'm not surprised. I mean, I think people's concerns are valid. What he wrote was completely unacceptable, so I don't dismiss any concerns at all. I think where there may be some disagreements in the community is about the path that we followed.
Chaplain tells me that the town chose a restorative justice process that was well thought out. He readily admits it's not perfect, But given the extraordinary circumstances surrounding this particular case, this was the best path to take for this town to get through this ugly period. He says it's a procedure that he believes in, and quite obviously, it's a process that the Arlington police force stakes its own reputation on.
At this point, I certainly have no intention of backing out of it. We went through the process. Lieutenant Pedrini served, his time, so to speak, as part of the restorative agreement. The remaining steps to be taken are further engagement with the community, which we outlined in the letter. We're very willing to do and understand that is important for us to do. And frankly, it's engagement that even if this had never happened, we should be doing with the community.
Now, I spoke to Laura Kiesel, who is an independent teacher and journalist who thinks that Lieutenant Pedrini should have been fired. And she wants more clarification as to why town leaders chose the restorative justice process in this particular case.
I just want to clarify, they continue to say that that's closed, but what we have asked is at least that we get some clarification as to why that's closed, because the thing about restorative justice is it's supposed to be an ongoing process, and if the person didn't follow through with the tenets of that restorative justice, meaning they did not show remorse or take true accountability, if it was not done in a way that upheld restorative justice, that it should be an ongoing thing and revisited. So I know some of us feel, and I'm speaking mostly for myself, not like everyone who's done the petition or spoke at the select board meeting, that the restorative justice wasn't done in the spirit with which it should have been done. It did not include all the harmed populations.
Well, I guess I would generally disagree with that assertion. I feel as though the letter that was issued laid out quite clearly and somewhat in length the thought process that I and others had about pursuing the restorative justice process. And as I have from the start of the process, if there's people who feel as though I've not been clear or would like to understand more, I'll sit with anybody, talk with anybody on the phone who wants to talk through this issue. I've sat with dozens of people to date, and I continue to be willing to sit with people. I know it's a difficult issue. It's been very difficult for me. I know for members of the select board, members of the community, for everybody involved, this has been a difficult issue. I do think there may be some confusion between clarity and disagreement. And while I think I've been clear, I do understand people disagree with me.
A senior mediator from Consensus Building Institute, a nonprofit out of Cambridge, met with a number of Arlington residents over the summer. And just this week, CBI, which specializes in conflict resolution, released its findings in a report. If you would like to read that 10-page report, all you have to do is go to the Arlington website, arlingtonma.gov. If you want to see the select board meeting in its entirety, all you have to do is go to our website, acmi.tv. The meeting was quite long. For ACMi News, I'm Jeff Barnes.
It's a new school year, and that means new classes for students. But this year, students are getting a little extra, thanks to additional town revenue from last June's override. Brenda Mahoney has more.
School is back in session throughout Arlington, including at the high school here. And students, they've got their sharpened pencils and backpacks, but they also have new teachers and new curriculum. Part of that due to the override that voters approved back in June. We sat down with Superintendent Kathleen Bodie to find out exactly how students are benefiting from that infusion of money. Each school year brings a certain amount of newness to it, but this school year, elementary school students in Arlington will experience something extra special, literally. Thanks to an additional $600,000 from a property tax override that was approved in June, more specialist teachers of art, music, and gym have been hired. It results in an extra class each week. Not so much because the students need it, but for what it does for all the other learning.
Now in every school, it may not be every day of the week, but at least 3 times a week, all math classes at each grade level, all English, reading, writing classes are at the same level, will be at the same time. What that allows you to do is to do a lot more sharing among teachers, to have more flexible groups. You can have more push-in with special education teachers to support the learning of students.
Arlington School Superintendent Kathleen Bodie says faculty will take advantage of that time by holding an additional team meeting where teachers, subject coaches, and principals can come together to make sure they are doing everything they can to reach and teach each and every student.
Anytime teachers can look at data of student work to improve teaching and learning, our students benefit. Just that one change has made such a difference in how we're going to be able to organize school days in the elementary schools. I think it's a real game changer, honestly.
Funds also allowing for new specials with explicit instruction and tools for the digital age, beginning with 4th and 5th grade.
Their extra block a week will be devoted to digital literacy, which is something we've been wanting to do, and keyboarding. 3rd grade will have keyboarding practice during that time as well. We're working on the K through 2, but those are in progress.
Also new this year for the town's 7 elementary schools, funding for books for libraries and a certified librarian to oversee them all, as well as new assistant principals in each school. Why the bulk of additional revenue going towards the elementary schools? Well, it's where the biggest growth is.
Right now in our elementary schools, all but one class has over 500 students. And the class that does not is almost 500. Our 1st grade is nearly 600. Our schools have been growing.
Superintendent Bodie says they struggled with new curriculum before this additional tax revenue, trying to instead simply keep up with the growth. But now they have new electives at the high school and computer science and civics at the middle school. And it's all wrapped up in a safe and supported learning environment that Superintendent Bodie says is at the heart of every school and learning.
Everyone needs to have that place where you're feeling safe and appreciated in order to do your best work.
Of course, the other big thing happening with the schools is right here at Arlington High School. The project now to build a new high school is in the design and development phase, and we'll be hearing more about that throughout the year to come. Brenda Mahoney, ACMi News.
Ottoson Middle School students had an unexpected one-day off last week. That's because of a power failure that pretty much shut everything down. Students waited outside for roughly an hour before being sent home. The building, school grounds, and parking lot looked abandoned for the rest of the day. School leaders told ACMi News power was restored and classes resumed the following day.
Despite the rain that came in the early afternoon hours, this year's Town Day in Arlington was a great success. Thousands of people turned out to mingle with their neighbors, eat great food, buy some cool stuff, and just hang out.
ACMi News intern Harvey Kelly captured so many sights and sounds of this year's Town Day. Take a look.
Town Day is a time when you can learn about all different organizations, come together, go for a pony ride, get to see your neighbors, meet new people, and we have officials here as well, police, fire, and even the Coast Guard.
The Friends of the Robbins Library book sale is fantastic. It's fun. There are a lot of people here. There's books downstairs, books upstairs. There's hardcover books. There's trade paperbacks. There's children's books galore. They range from picture books. They range from hardcover books to picture books to series books. As you can see, there are a lot of people here. This is a fun event.
And we're right here in front of ACMi booth, where we've got something that's quite an attraction right now for the youth. They seem to know what it is, and I'm not even really sure I know what it is. Hey kids, do you know what you're doing?
No, I do not, to be honest.
And this is the virtual reality, so they're seeing a whole different world inside their glasses right now. It's something new to ACMi.
Hey, we're here at the petting zoo today at Towns Day. They've got some goats, some pigs, some really cool stuff going on. I've got Kaylee here who's been running it. Could you tell me a little bit about what's going on here?
So we normally bring the animals to like pet birthday parties, pretty much anything, like any kind of events, weddings. So today we just brought a few of the baby package. So we have bunnies, chickens, ducks, and we pretty much just let the kids hang out with them, and that's pretty much it, yeah.
What's this goat's name?
That's P2.
Hey, P2. P2, what's your favorite air traffic controller song?
Steve, what are you looking forward to today?
I'm looking forward to some great weather and some great music.
The rains came shortly before 2 in the afternoon, sending some people home, but not all.
Town leaders say the Coast Guard vessel, the massive book fair at the Robbins Library, and the petting zoo were huge draws this year.
ACMi Sports is back.
We'll have all of your sports highlights from Arlington High. And we'll tell you about a film making its U.S. debut in Arlington that tells the story of a former Stanley Cup champion destined for hockey immortality, that is until his stunning fall and his inspirational comeback.
We'll have a full report on Shattered coming up on the other side of the break. Stay with us.
If you see news happening in your area and you have a smartphone, you can see it, shoot it, send it. Make sure to hold your phone horizontally and send us your video. Or share your video with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just look for ACMi News.
The leaves are falling and you'll be falling in love with our fall workshops. Tuesday evenings in September and October, Arlington Community Media brings you a new lineup of media workshops from a variety of topics. Learn how to create films with your phone, create your own YouTube channel, hand-drawn animation, and more. Workshops are only the price of an annual membership, which includes access to production facilities, computer suites, camera equipment, and all upcoming classes and events. So join us on Tuesdays starting on September 17th from 6 to 8:30 p.m. at 85 Park Avenue in Arlington Heights. Check out acmi.tv or call 781-777-1115 for more information.
Kevin Stevens played for the Stanley Cup champion Pittsburgh Penguins in the early 90s, seemingly on his way to the Hockey Hall of Fame. That is, until he hit rock bottom, losing virtually everything.
His turbulent journey is now captured on film, which made its debut in Arlington last week. And as ACMi's Chelsea Swift reports, just like the fast-paced action on the ice, there's always loss, but there's always that hope for a stunning comeback.
Here at the Regent Theater, the film Shattered tells the story of former NHL player Kevin Stevens, a story that inspires athletes as well as people from all walks of life who may have grappled with the issue of drug addiction.
He shoots and scores! The hat trick for Kevin Stevens. Oh no, Eddie Spaghetti.
Kevin Stevens is perhaps best known for being one of the greatest power forwards in NHL history. He was destined for hockey greatness.
And the big RT Express, Artie.
Kevin Stevens, two-time Stanley Cup winner.
But he nearly lost everything after becoming hooked on cocaine following an NHL game in the early 90s and opioids after undergoing surgery 26 years ago. Stevens says he's now picking up the pieces from a life torn apart by excessive drug use. He says the 23-minute film Shattered, which chronicles Stevens' turbulent life, can teach others about an epidemic that extends far beyond the confines of the hockey rink.
Out here trying to do the best I can to help people, and this is the only way I could do it is by telling the truth, you know. The easiest thing about my story, and when I talk to them, I just have to tell the truth, you know. It's what happened to me, and it can happen to anybody, right?
A virtual who's who in the world of professional sports and even Hollywood came to the Regent Theater to see how their teammate is using his turbulent experience to teach others about drug use and about its dangers and pitfalls, and to let others know he is a survivor.
Kevin really opened himself up about his own personal struggles and all, so I think that's the important thing, particularly in a documentary, is to be honest and truthful, and it was definitely that, so I really enjoyed it.
I think it's a lesson in life. It's not just about a hockey player. It's about the challenges that people who have addictions and what they face daily. And I think this is a great story to be told, and I think this is a great lesson for young kids to learn that you don't have to be a professional athlete to have these kind of challenges, that it goes on daily.
At age 54, Stevens now lives in Weymouth, Mass., working as a scout for the Pittsburgh Penguins. But more importantly, he says he's been given a blessing to help others going through their darkest days and let them know addiction does not play favorites, and that there's always hope.
That was a gimme. Alone in front, Stevens scores! Kevin Stevens wins it in overtime for the Penguins. And ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has just left the building.
For ACMi News, I'm Chelsea Swift.
After a long, hot, lonely summer and the beginning of the new school year, ACMi News is reunited with Ponderscope and Arlington High School sports.
Let's get caught up with everything going on in Studio B.
Arlington has won the Super 8 Massachusetts State Championship.
Hello Arlington sports lovers and welcome to another edition of your ACMi Sports Update. The fall season is officially underway, and the Ponders are looking strong for yet another year. Football opened up their season to a packed crowd last Friday night, beating a Cambridge Ringe in Latin 48-18. Girls soccer continued their hot start to the season with a 4-1 win over Wakefield, followed by a massive 6-2 win against Newton North.
Oh, Palumbo, shot, score! Sophie Morris on the rebound. A little bit of garbage for Sophie, and it's been all Arlington so far.
After that, they went to Woburn, defeating the Tanners 3-0. After 2 wins to start the season, boys soccer tied Wakefield 0-0 and Woburn 1-1, where they hit the crossbar twice and had their last attempt of the game cleared out by Woburn after the ball hit everything but the back of the net.
To the middle.
Oh, nice throw. Goes in. Carter stays in the middle. They can't clear it out. Pilya keeps it in. Oh, and it's cleared out to the out of bounds. Coming up in next week's matchups, on Friday, girls soccer hosts Lexington at 6 p.m., where they look to make a statement on their season. As boys soccer heads to Lexington at 4, looking to get back into the winning ways against the reigning Middlesex champs. Also on the road, football heads to Stoneham to play the defending Division VI Super Bowl champs at 6:30 p.m. They'll be back at home next Friday the 27th at 7 p.m. against Woburn. From ACMi Sports at Studio B, I'm Nick Antonakis. Back to you at Studio A.
Thanks, guys. And of course, stay with us for all your latest news and sports updates. That'll do it for us here in Studio A. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Tyler Valancourt.
And I'm Eleni Kaminas. We'll see you next week.
You can always check out our latest segments and newscasts on the web at acmi.tv/news. And don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ACMi News. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. You'll find us at youtube.com/ACMi News. If you have any news tips for us or wish to become a citizen journalist, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at news@acmi.tv or stop by ACMi Studio A at 85 Park Avenue.